Bantam Doubleday Dell Audio Publishing presents The Running Mate by Joe Klein. Prologue. The event at the Elks Club ended at dusk and they headed west into the countryside. She was surprised by the drama of the terrain. The rolling hills were steeper than she'd expected and perfectly proportionate. The chocolate soil fresh and fecund. The sun was setting behind pilasters of cloud which were less delicate than the casual coastal puff she was used to. They were bigger, heavier, like the heroic thuds of mashed potato that had been deposited on their plates at the Elks. And yet the sunset colors were as subtle as the clouds were dramatic. No pollution-induced fuchsias out here. There were streaks of canary and tangerine rising to a robin's egg blue, then fading into a navy night. "Great sky," she said. "Why?" he asked. "Why?" She turned to him, wrinkling her brow. "I just want to see what you see," he explained. She brushed a hand along his cheek, which was sandpapery with early evening stubble. "All you have to do," she said, "is look more slowly." Just past dark they stopped at a picket fence at the end of a long dirt road after endless rolling miles of corn and soy. Straight ahead was a simple white farmhouse over-illuminated by halogen crime lights. There was a red barn to the right and corn all around. The senator slid open the minivan door and jumped out. "I need to talk to you," he said, taking her by the wrist and gently but firmly leading her along the driveway path. She resisted, in part a visceral response to being tugged, but also a consequence of her khaki skirt, which was long and cumbersome. She was also wearing a white silk blouse and navy espadrilles. He didn't much like the espadrilles, but that was part of her allure. She challenged his predispositions. He yelled a greeting, "Hey, Tom!" in the general direction of an elderly, heavy-set man in coveralls, who was ratcheting himself, with some difficulty, out of the rocking chair on the porch. "Take it easy, Tom," he quickly added. "We'll be right with you." And he pulled her abruptly to the left, into the corn, several rows in, so no one could see them, although the lights from the house and the campaign minivan threw competing smoky shadows through the leaves and tassels. He stopped, turned, put his hands on her shoulders. She sensed their unevenness in the dark, the right hand strong, the left a shadow of a presence. "Okay," Charlie Martin exhaled. "Okay. Will you marry me?" "Marry you?" Nell Palmerston was suddenly breathless and laughing. "Ah. No?" She was, she realized, imitating her daughter, for whom every statement was a question. No?" He imitated her imitation, expecting a response, but she was too stunned to say anything. "No, as in, for real? No?" Actually, he wasn't surprised. A simple yes would have been astonishing, perhaps even slightly disappointing. Nothing was ever simple with Nell. He knew he'd have to work at this. "Why the hell not?" "Because," she said, catching her breath, "you're in campaign mode." "Oh, come on," he said, trying to see her through the tasseled shadows. "I don't know what that means." "Yes, you do," she said. "At least, I hope you do. I mean, if you didn't, that would really be pathetic." "I'm in the middle of a campaign," he acknowledged. "So what?" He was having trouble reading her in the dark. It was hard enough reading her when he could see her. "You're completely caught up in this thing." "Well, what did you think?" "I didn't think," she said. "Sometimes I have a problem with that." "Oh, come on," he said. "You knew. You think I invited you out here to help with the haying?" "Well," she played a bit, regaining her balance. "Rhymes with haying?" He didn't laugh, and now she was disappointed. He didn't want to play? He wanted a serious response? "I guess I wasn't expecting the on-stage all the time part of it," she tried. "I mean, it's Saturday, and we were out there all day, and tomorrow's Sunday, and we have to do it all day then, too. And my role, comatose devotion, perpetually amazed by your brilliance. 2 days of it, and my face hurts from smiling. When do we go to the beach? I'd settle for a lake. I saw a lake today. People were swimming. She smiled and dropped an arm over his shoulder. Can't we go campaigning in a lake? It looks so nice. We drove right past it on our way to where? The Fort Diddy Bop Burrito Festival? Or was it the Firehouse Bazaar in Grove Corners? It was the Fort Dantrobet Burrito Festival, he said, and if you were having such an awful time, why did I have to wipe the salsa off your chin and drag you away from those women you were yakking with? Well, they were quilt makers, she explained. Oh, I see, quilt makers. He debated whether to tell her that it just wasn't politic to get so deeply embedded in a conversation on the hustings. The rest of the crowd might feel slighted. It was a detail of implementation, and he didn't want to force her political education. She'd learn the ropes at her own speed, or so he hoped. He turned to topic A. So, is this a permanent no or just a provisional one? Is it going to be a standing offer or a one-shot deal? I don't know, he said. What do you think? I'm guessing it's somewhere in between, she said. A provisional standing offer. You're too proud to make it permanent, and I'd guess too reasonable to make it a one-shot deal. Can we negotiate? Should I try again? You want a knee? He offered. Seriously? She asked, chuckling. She had a wonderful, unexpected chuckle. Her laughing voice was deeper than her speaking voice. A knee, as in down on one knee? Absolutely. Not really. I've given you all the corn I could muster, he said. I put a lot of thought into this, proposing to you here. It was sort of fabulous. Looking straight up, she could see a brilliant night sky with the same sliver of moon the cow jumped over in nursery rhyme books. The rich, damp smell of the soil was intoxicating. Charlie could see her eyes now, calm and gray-green, and her coarse tangle of blonde hair. Nell could see his mouth, but not his eyes, and that was a disadvantage. She had fallen in love with his eyes. He was holding her hand. He kissed the inside of her wrist. She touched his hair, which was thick and black, tending toward gray, rather aesthetically at the temples. I'll bet this is where you used to take all the girls, she said, haying. He did like a good cornfield. He'd thought about corn all the time in Vietnam, especially when he'd passed through a stand of bamboo. Bamboo creaked in the wind. Corn swished. Corn was so much more delicate and benign. The thought of a midsummer cornfield undulating over the hills had always made him homesick. In Vietnam, he'd sometimes found himself drifting here to Uncle Tom and Aunt Leah's place, just outside of Fort Jeffords. The corn backed up to the edge of their yard on all sides, and so he'd brought Nell to Tom and Leah's, to propose to her in the middle of their cornfield, after the last event of the day, a broasted chicken dinner with the Fort Jeffords Future Farmers of America at the Elks Hall. Nell thought the dinner was indescribably exotic. They had been served white bread and margarine along with the chicken, mashed potatoes, and way overcooked canned vegetables, and apple pie with slices of processed cheese melted on top. She had also been tickled by the idea that there was such a thing as future farmers. She had always imagined farmers to be part of the past, like coopers or blacksmiths. But there they were, these incredibly earnest and soon-to-be overweight kids, talking about hybrids and genetics, and none of them wearing overalls. Nell hadn't thought about plant genetics since high school biology. She tried to remember the name of the monk who'd done the experiment with fruit flies. Was it Gregor Mendel, or was he the Kafka character? She was going to ask Charlie, but he seemed so busy, asking intricate questions about the vagaries of modern agronomy, listening intently to the future farmers, joking, flirtatiously. Politics, as far as she could tell, involved an awful lot of flirting. Charlie's plan was they would spend the night at Tom and Leah's, something he hadn't done since childhood, after he proposed and she'd accepted. He had imagined himself and Nell coming down the stairs Sunday morning, his arm around her waist, newly engaged. There would be Leah's famous cinnamon buns. They would go to church, of course. You have to go to church in the middle of a campaign. Usually you have to go to several churches. But he knew a rowdy apostolic congregation outside of town.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?